The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area.
The butcher of Gaza, Benjamin Netanyahu, who's wanted for war crimes, met with American President Donald Trump, and their focus of discussion was the future of the Palestinian people. Trump made a few remarks at the Oval Office in front of a press conference. He said, "We will take over Gaza, and Jerusalem is the capital of Israel." His statements have been met with widespread condemnation, particularly from the Arabs in the region, who reject Trump's view of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And if his idea of forcefully displacing Palestinians of Gaza works, then there's going to be more turmoil in the region. More turmoil means more expansions, and the Arabs of the region are going to get it real bad.
How big is that land? Because
it's very big. No, this is the promise of God to the patriarchs of the Jewish nation. It's 3,000 kilometers. It's almost as big as the Sahara Desert.
So this is the biblical Israel.
Yes.
Can I call it? Yeah. And this is what's. And so, which countries are these?
And which country? Don't mention. I think it's Iraq.
Iraq.
And Syria.
So you believe.
And part of Saudi Arabia. This is a holy place. It's a place, one part of the universe that was chosen by God. It's a kind of a stage for the Jewish nation to express the ideas and ideals of the Jewish nation.
We'll solve the problem.
Now, Jordan, Egypt, what other countries you think might accept Palestinians from Gaza?
Well, I think Jordan and Egypt will, I know they've spoken about it with you, and they say they're not going to accept. I say they will. But I think other countries will accept also.
What Trump wants to do is he wants to get rid of the Palestinians, and he wants to resettle them in the neighboring countries. So far, the Egyptians and the Jordanians have said they won't take the Palestinians. But wait till Trump slaps tariffs and sanctions on them. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran and Syria, they can't do anything about Trump's stance. Syria especially, Syria has already given away some land. The reality is that these nations are limited when it comes to US policy.
The actual idea of allowing first Gazans who want to leave. What's wrong with that?
If anything, that's going to be a real challenge to Trump's ambitions. It will come from within the United States itself. I'm talking about political movements and activists inside the country, particularly those who oppose Trump's foreign policies. They will likely be the ones who have the power to resist his actions. See, the concern here isn't simply that Trump has made such a remark. After all, he's been open about his stance on Gaza and Israel for years. What's truly alarming is how his administration's actions are accelerating the erosion of Palestinian rights. Trump is the deep state, where decisions about land and people are made mainly for political power. Trump made those wild statements in front of Netanyahu without any consultation with the people of Gaza. Yet America likes to paint this pretty little picture about so-called democratic values, and Israel being the only democracy in the Middle East. These so-called values are exposed today. The ugly face of Netanyahu is also exposed today.
The actual idea of allowing first Gazans who want to leave. What's wrong with that?
The idea of forcibly relocating an entire population, and we're talking about millions of people, from their own homeland is undemocratic. It's illegal and it's wrong. It goes against the principle of self-determination, and it violates the rights of the Palestinian people. And America can do it. Of course it can. America has the power with its economic clout, military power, and influence in global politics, along with activating Wahhabi, Salafi and Zionist radicals. They can put pressure on other nations to comply, whether they like it or not.
Good afternoon, Michiganders. As the president said, we just had a positive meeting with President Trump. We as Muslims stand with President Trump because he promises peace. He promises peace, not war.
I'm a fan of Trump. Obviously, I hope he wins.
Interestingly, some of Trump's most vocal supporters, including figures like Andrew Tate and Sneeko, are local Wahhabi converts, as well as certain Muslim communities in the United States, have mistakenly aligned with his policies, believing that Trump is some sort of messiah for the Muslims, as well as the Jews, believing that he will oppose anything the deep state throws at the Americans. However, it's clear and out in the open, my dear friends. Donald Trump's actions and his rhetoric is an integral part of the deep state. Now, I don't know whether the local Wahhabi converts and American Muslims are stupid, or they've been in a coma during Trump's first term, probably the former. But this guy is far from standing up to the deep state. Donald Trump is intent on advancing Israel's interests at the expense of Palestinian rights. I think the next few months will be very, very interesting in determining whether Trump's aggressive rhetoric will persist or if there's going to be pushback. And the pushback, as I said, will come from the United States itself. My dear friends, as history has shown us, rhetoric often gives way to political reality, and Trump may have to moderate his stance to avoid alienating his allies. Saudi Arabia has already said it's ready to invest billions into the American economy, but they're not really happy with what Trump has said recently in front of Netanyahu.
Other than to say that what came out of Mr. Trump is not digestible, I respectfully decline to add more disrespectful comments to that. But it is a fantasy to think that ethnic cleansing in the 21st century can be condoned by a world community that stays on its behinds and does not respond to that. The problem in Palestine is not the Palestinians. It is the Israeli occupation. And this has been clear and understood by everybody. Hence, you have United Nations resolutions calling for the quid pro quo of land for peace from 1967 until now. The Arab Peace Initiative, of course, is based on that and offered Israel not only diplomatic relation, but all of the things that Israel wanted, from trade, from normalization, etc., in return for the establishment of a Palestinian state with its capital in East Jerusalem.
Will Donald Trump double down? I don't know. The situation is very complicated, and I think this guy has only been selected to be the president once again in order to divide the Americans further. I think there's going to be lawsuits against him, and he won't be completing 4 years. He will leave the US in a more divided state because the American empire has to collapse for Israel to rule the Middle East. My dear friends of the Independent Islamic Republic, it's important to recognize that no American president, congressman, or even senator reaches power by accident. Behind each of them are powerful lobbying groups, many of them heavily invested in maintaining American support for Israel. These are Zionist lobbies, particularly those with strong ties to the defense industry. They've played big roles in shaping American foreign policy for decades. Donald Trump, despite his claim of wanting peace and trying to save the people of Gaza, is ultimately pursuing a strategy to expand Israeli territory and secure its interests in the Middle East. And Gaza is very important. If the Americans are out there, obviously the Israelis will join them, and they'll keep a watch over strategic shipping lanes, particularly to counter China's growing influence. And that's what it's all about. It's not about peace. It's not about stopping Israel. In fact, it's about expanding Israel and keeping a watch on other nations by using Gaza and getting rid of the Gazans. Thanks for listening to the Independent Islamic Republic. Assalamu alaikum. Have a good night.